Welcome to my latest experiment. This is a big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. I will use you to cruise through any writer's block. Any lazy days when a glazed gaze invades my mind's cave of creativity. I will think of you and what you did to me. I will take your negativity and make it inspire me. I was not a book from the library. As I stand here alone, I declare I was not alone, to be picked up and dropped off at a later date. I'm Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast.
I'm Guy Pigden, and that was about books.
No, it was a simile. No, what's the word?
Metaphor?
Metaphor. Yeah, not a simile. That was Scroobius Pip, who is my new favourite rapper. I found him several years ago, and I liked one of his songs, and then I didn't follow up on him.
Stupid fucking name.
I didn't follow up on him, and then I sort of checked him out again recently and saw that he's been very productive, very active, and has just gotten way, way better. So, good.
Yeah.
He does the type of rapping or poetry which is where, you know, exactly what I like. He's kind of just talking about normal stuff and it's not all flowery, and he uses the same word to mean multiple things. You know, I love that. Alone and alone. That's some good shit there.
Scroobius Pip, though. Come on.
Scroobius Pip.
Scroobius Pip.
Yeah. Well, he's a weird and unique and interesting character.
Yeah, why does he just call himself Rubicon Seed Face or something? It's fucking dumb.
Maybe that will be my name. Maybe that'll be my poetry name, Rubicon Seed Face. What's wrong with that?
Well, this is going to be a slightly shorter episode of the Guy and Harley podcast because we are running out of time.
Yeah, well, unless it's so good that we decide not to end it and just pick it up at a later date.
Good luck with that because we're already a day late.
Yeah, but what's new?
Not much. I don't really have anything on this podcast, so I just got a couple things. But what have you got? Apparently, you've got all the subjects. You've got all the great convos. They're all just sitting there waiting.
Yeah. Well, look. Don't tell the listeners at the beginning of the podcast that you've got nothing to say. They're going to tune out.
No, I've got a couple things.
All right. Good. What do we got? So, start with a listener question, shall we?
Sure.
Because it's a doozy. It is possibly the best listener question we have ever had. So we need more of this from the listeners. This is from Jeremy Howson, who is a long-time listener who gave us some fan art recently, which I'm yet to take a picture of and put on the internet, but I will.
Some fantastic art.
I see what you did there. Sorry, I'm just very quickly finding that. You say something interesting and inspiring. Go.
So Max Key's released a single. Max Key, the son of John Key, has released a music single which has shot to the top of the streaming charts called Forget You. Thoughts?
Well, look, it must be, in a way, kind of tough to be the son of our Prime Minister.
In a way.
Well, like, on the one hand...
You have immense privilege.
Yeah, a huge privilege. Riches beyond the wildest imaginings. Such a tenuous grasp on reality.
Silver spoon of the silveriest and largest.
Like, you can think that you live in the real world, but when you're John Key's son, you don't. You don't live in the real world.
Not at all.
But anyway, like, it must be kind of tough because here's a guy, you know, he's a young guy who wants to be creative. He doesn't necessarily want to be a politician or something like that.
Yeah.
And yet he is always going to be known as John Key's son as opposed to Max Key, the DJ.
Yeah.
You know? I don't think he's helped himself, though, by being a DJ. One of the most, you know, douchey sort of things to be.
Yeah.
Sorry to all the DJs that tune in weekly. You know, it's like one of those things. It's kind of what you do when you're not actually skilled.
It's kind of the musical equivalent of the most unskilled thing you can do to say that you're a musician.
Yeah.
You know, it literally requires a computer and pressing a couple of buttons.
Yeah.
And then listening with your headphones with one ear. And nodding your head as if you're making these subtle tweaks and variations when actually you're literally just on Facebook, nodding your head and listening to your pre-selected, pre-mixed tracks that you did in Fruity Loops.
Yeah, like if he was, making a film.
You got some respect right there.
You'd still say, "Oh, you fucker! You've got access to all the great resources. You know, you're not actually that talented. You know, it's just your privilege that's helping you achieve all of this. You're not fighting the fight like we had to from high school with 2 VCRs editing,
2 VCRs, and a high 8mm camcorder that I purchased with my milk run money.
But still, you would say, all right, well, you know, if he makes a good film, you kind of have to go, well, he did orchestrate that, and it's good for you. But it's like being a DJ. Oh, come on, man. Even if you're the best DJ, you're still just a DJ. So yeah, but then again, he is trying to develop as an artist, presumably. You know, I mean, like, there's no way he would have got his song on the streaming the way it is if he wasn't Max Keys. If he wasn't Max Key, you know?
Yeah.
So he is totally, like, reveling in that, and, you know...
Oh, yeah. And I also feel like if you kind of just... Like, that was your announcement to the world, was, like, okay, so this is me. I'm a serious musician, and here's my first piece of work. People would go, oh, okay, but if you had prefaced this by, 2 years of douchey Instagram posts that are like, hey, check out me and my rich swag and my rich friends doing rich shit. Suck a dick, everyone. This is me. This is living large Max Key. This is me. Then I feel like automatically you've put a real negative spin on how you're going to be perceived when you go, oh, hey, actually, ignore all that stuff, but because I do want to be taken seriously. I have heard the song. Have you heard the song?
I haven't. Is it good?
Well, look, the problem for me is, like dance, house, sort of whatever you want to call it. To me, that's the lowest form of music.
Yeah.
Like, that is the worst. That is, again, when you want to talk about skill sets that are involved there, I can make that on my computer, and I even understand how I could make that on my computer in terms of the construction of a song. Whereas when you want to talk about true instrumentation, you want to talk about composing music, you want to talk about singing, you want to talk about anything really, that stuff that I could never do in a million years. That's really skillful, however, essentially kind of mashing up beats and, putting hooks over music, that's really quite simple. It's quite elementary. Having said that, to me, it just sounds like another dance kind of house thing. It's catchy. It is catchy. I can't really define whether that's good or bad. It just seems like
herpes. Catchy. Catchy and good. Not always
can't
hand in
define
hand.
Whether it's good or bad because you did have sex to get it.
There you go. Yeah. Exactly.
It's still probably bad.
There's always a silver lining, I guess, when you look at it like that. But yeah, I mean, it is also going to be a hindrance in the sense just that he is always going to be... We're never going to respect him. Nobody's going to respect him. And it's like, if he was any other artist, who would put out a song, you'd go, oh, well, I don't really like it, but good for you, and you're having a go at it. But instead, you're like, fuck you! You're a dickhead!
Well, also, what do you think about this? Because... there was some controversy that he's now a DJ on George FM, right?
Yeah.
And that the old DJ was just kind of unceremoniously dumped.
Yeah. to make room.
And then another DJ was maybe fired, or maybe it was the same DJ was fired because they said, why the fuck do we have Max Key on George FM?
Yeah.
Like, the fuck, bro. And so what so is he qualified to be a radio DJ on like a prestigious radio?
No, it's his connections. Guaranteed. It's his name and his connections. But, there is some sort of merit to the fact that obviously, even if he is a notorious douche, he is notorious nonetheless, and it's all publicity. It's all good shit for George FM. People might actually tune in to check it out.
Definitely.
That's, and then if he does a good job, well, that's kind of win-win,
And I think, to be fair, I think he has done a reasonable job of that thing. Like, he's not really a radio host as such. He's a curator of music.
Yeah.
So I think that he's actually has done an okay job. And his song is not one, that Friday song or anything.
Yeah.
It's not like an abomination or a disaster. So it does show some level of talent, but I still give the man no respect.
Yeah. Well, he has. You have to remember as well that the sycophants he'll be surrounded by, he has no idea that he's a douchebag. He's one of these Ponsonby people, but he's like the king of the Ponsonby people.
He is. He's fully the king.
And so it's like he is just surrounded by all these sort of equally vapid idiots.
Yeah.
Rich, privileged sort of idiots. And they all kind of affirm each other.
Yeah. And also when we, or like so I guess the critics or the intellectuals. Intellectuals. You heard me.
Yeah.
Say something about him, he can automatically do the whole Donald Trump thing and default to, wow, that's the haters. So there's always going to be haters. I'm dealing with the haters all the time. And it's like, well, are you dealing with the haters, or are you dealing with
hate?
Like hate because you're legitimately, not that good. And that's a tough thing, who's to say. But I guess the most disturbing thing to me in all of this thing is, even before the whole, Max Key becoming a DJ, Max Key releasing a single, Max Key's single becoming #1 streaming on Spotify. Before all that, there was Max Key, son of the Prime Minister, being covered more than the zombie film in Stuff and the New Zealand Herald. And
more than I Survived a Zombie Holocaust.
Our feature film.
Which you can watch on iTunes and get it on DVD in most parts of the world. Just Google it.
The first New Zealand zombie film in 20 years. 25 years. Now, I'm talking about around the release of it as well. I'm not talking about like just now. I don't expect people to be writing follow-up articles about the zombie film now. But when it was released and we were pushing it all and trying to get it out there, I think we got one half an article about Mike Edward in the New Zealand Herald, about Mike Edward's abs in the New Zealand Herald. And that wasn't very good. And, in that time, I've seen maybe 7 to 10 at least, maybe even more, just talking about what Max Key is up to. And this is before he's actually done anything. Okay,
well, my concern is that Max Key is going to become a household name, and that he is going to become, the Kardashian of New Zealand kind of thing. And that's going to happen. I guarantee that's going to happen, especially if we manage to vote out... Meet the Keys. Yeah. And when if we finally manage to vote out John Key...
Key to Love.
That's what
like the reality
bachelor.
Show. Yeah. He's a bachelor. He's looking for love.
Yeah.
Key to Love.
Oh, it's just too easy.
Patent that. Copyright that.
So, this guy, once John Key is out of office, I think that's when Max Key can really truly shine.
But I guess there's the problem is he ever going to be out of office? Because at this rate, he's going to come sort of like, who's the Russian guy? Putin. Yeah. And he's just never going to be moved out of office.
Yeah.
It's becoming that kind of regime.
All right, so enough about Max fucking Key. It's 13 minutes of Max Key. That's enough. Look, so I've got this listener question here from Jeremy Howson. Excellent question. I've got a question. If an eccentric billionaire offered you guys $1 million each, and all you had to do was either part ways and never communicate again, or have sex with each other while he watched, Would you do either of those things?
Well, I'll let you answer that first.
Okay, well, probably, Guy, I'd just bum you. And then I'd stop communicating with you, because that's normally how I'd operate. You know how I operate normally. I'd have sex with you, then I'd never talk to you again.
So you get $2 million.
I get $2 million. Yeah, it's usually how I operate. No. In all seriousness, I'd just bum you.
Right, but I would have to be accepting of that.
Well, either way, like $1 million each to rub our ugly bits together. Look, $1 million each. I think that's well and truly worth it. I think that's $2 million to have sex once in front of this guy.
But it's the Max Key situation of the whole thing. Is like you got to a place that you don't deserve to be.
Well, we don't tell anybody.
By doing something despicable.
But you don't tell anybody. It doesn't have to be a public fact. It's not on the record. It's just that suddenly we have $2 million.
It's on the record of your mind for the rest of your life.
Oh, look, you'd learn to accept it. Anything becomes normal. There are people that have lived in solitary confinement for 40 years in US prisons. No shit. 40 years. Well, now, that's become normal to them. And anything can become normal.
There's those people. I just read a new article about those people that survived that plane crash in the Andes or somewhere. They had to eat all their friends, basically, because they were stuck out there for 2 months.
Yeah.
They just had to do it.
Yeah.
But personally, this is one of those questions. It's like, ask me again in 20 years. Like in 20 years' time, if I'm in the position that I am now, I would probably take that bumming. Take that bumming willingly.
Yeah.
But at this stage, I believe that I can get there without the bumming. I believe I can do it. So I wouldn't accept.
But what about though if
parting ways? I wouldn't do that. To be honest, this is to my detriment. But money, I do not value money enough. I don't even really think if you gave me $1 million right now, I would probably spend exactly $1 million making a film and be broke and fucked at the end of it. So I don't. Yeah, I just don't think those kind of money, those money deal with the devil plays, for me, at this stage, I would not accept.
That's fine, but let me just blow your mind a little bit. Okay. Don't think of it as money. All right, you ready for this? Don't think of it as money. Think of it as this. Go to work for the next 50 years, literally 50 years, more. I mean, I don't think you're going to earn $1 million in 50 years. What, like, if you're on
not at this rate.
Well, say you're on $50,000 a year. How many years is that for $1 million? 20 years?
20 years, yeah.
20 years. So 20 years if you're on 50,000, which you're
I'm not.
Right? So think of it as this billionaire comes up and says, I will give you 20 years of freedom, financial freedom. You never have to work again. You can concentrate full time on your filmmaking. So it's not money. It's not shoes and bags and hats and stuff. It's time and freedom that he's offering you. And all you have to do is sodomize your friend Harley in front of him. All right? Think of it like that.
Yeah, but like I said, it's that moral thing. Is like, you can put any spin you like on it, but it is prostitution.
It's more like porn star,
and it's just high class
pornography. It's pornography.
It's high class prostitution.
It's pornography because you're not fucking the old man.
I guess,
the billionaire.
But prostitutes are sometimes asked to do acts that don't involve them having sex with the actual person.
Yeah.
But
if they're filming, or I guess no, they're not filming though, is it?
Yeah. So at the end of the day,
it's live pornography.
I would have to. I wouldn't do it because also that's the thing is like there would always be like that part of me that was like, yeah, but this is how I got here.
Yeah.
So I like that would haunt me. Not even necessarily the act of it.
Which is a whole other kettle of fish in itself.
But
so to speak.
What I had to do to do that thing, and just kind of every day that I'm using those resources would be a reminder of how I got those resources. Yeah. So for me personally, I would have to choose neither of those. Also, because like, and this is going to sound a little bit cliche, but like, yes, $1 million would be amazing. $1 million to anyone would be amazing, but it's just money. And you know, would you pay at the beginning of your life $1 million to have a sort of a tried and true best friend for your lifetime that you both shared a great creative passion with, and, you know, got to work together and, you know, had an amazing, you know, bond with? You'd say, yeah, it's priceless, probably. This is probably worth more than $1 million.
Well, I'm sure there's a person out there with $1 million that wishes they had a best friend.
Oh, I'm sure there's many. So that is a very good question, Jeremy.
But wait, what's that? How's that relevant? You know, what are you saying? That if we had sex, it would ruin the friendship or something?
No, I'm saying that the other option, which we haven't really delved into, of the idea that would just take the $1 million and part ways.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't really be that cool with that.
It's not really on the table, but you know, it's
sodomy. I'm cool.
Prostitution and sodomy, you got no problems with. Walking away from your friend. No way.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm a little embarrassed now. I really thought you'd be with me on this one. I thought you'd see it like a physical representation of our love for each other. You know?
Yeah. No.
I guess the problem would be maybe it would ruin the friendship because, you know, I just want to do it again and again, you know? Maybe I'll be like, how about it, buddy? Knock, 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 late at night on the door.
Gateway drug.
Yeah. You have to start locking your bedroom. You put a padlock on the bedroom.
Yeah. No,
keep me out of your boxes when you're at work. It could happen.
Yeah, so good question, Jeremy. For me, so that's one for bumming and one for not taking the deal.
Yeah, no, look, I personally, I think when you're talking about that kind of money, I'm all right with it. Look, you know, I mean, every man has his price. Mine is $2 million.
Well, is it $2 million or is it $1 million?
Well, it's $1 million each, but you have to assume it's $1 million each.
Right.
So it's $2 million between the two of us. So Pigville Productions now has $2 million. That's a lot of money. You know, you could set yourself up with this kind of semi-pro, but would just go pro, basically, where you assign yourself, you know, $1,000 a week for years. For how many thousands? 1,000 is in $1 million, right?
Yeah.
So for 1,000 weeks, you don't have to work again.
Well, look, I'm sure that, you know, in my decision, which effectively rules out your choice as well, there would be many days where I would go, God damn it. I wish I'd just done
taken
it.
that dick.
I wish I'd just taken it up the ass. God damn it. Why did I just take it up the ass? But there'll be other days where I'd stand tall and proud and maybe even tell my kids about the time I didn't let my best friend bum me for $1 million.
Well, it is true that if you could somehow secretly record or prove that we had been offered this and said no to it, that could be your hook to sort of online fame, you know, if you could put that story out there, and that might in itself lead to a book deal or, you know, some heightened interest in our stuff. So yeah.
Well, speaking of awkward sexual situations, I just read this headline: K-Road visit ruined after Kiwi man unknowingly hires his own wife.
Yeah. But look, I'm seeing Batty Post is the website. Now doesn't sound like a respected news website to me.
It definitely doesn't. The Batty Post, the Crazy Post.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously
a 45-year-old Auckland man has been unpleasantly surprised after arranging a session with a prostitute at K Road brothel on Friday evening. Unknown to the client, his female companion for the evening turned out to be none other than his wife of 12 years. The terrible mix-up occurred after the man made a Friday night appointment at the establishment and was told his regular girl was unavailable, but the receptionist was apologetic and mentioned that a new employee had recently been hired who was receiving rave reviews from a number of clients. Book me in, said the man. and the wheels were set in motion for a fateful meeting. The man was relaxing in bed when the door swung open and his wife entered the room. The couple reportedly froze before the wife reacted, emitting a shrill scream and taking off her 12-inch heel and hurling it at her husband. At her husband's rapidly deflating kiwi bird.
Kiwi bird is the worst pseudonym, or not pseudonym, that's not even the right word. What's the word for...
Substitute?
Well, there's an actual word for when you say something else but you mean one thing. Sorry, listeners. We went to Logan Park High School and I finished but did not pass.
Well, here's the insult to injury here. After a heated discussion with the brothel's manager, he was able to negotiate a discount and only had to pay $150 of the $300 for a brief encounter with his wife.
Listen, mate, you are reading a satire website. None of it's true.
This is the Onion. This is the Onion
the New Zealand
of New
Onion.
Zealand.
Yeah.
But what would you do if that happened? Would it be your comeuppance for arranging to see a prostitute in the first place?
No, it would be a revelation. You've found out, okay, you're a guy who's going and seeing a prostitute, a regular prostitute. That makes it sound like he sees one girl regularly.
Yeah.
Your wife is fucking 10 men a night,
Yeah, at least.
Exactly, maybe more. Who knows how many men your wife is fucking. So it seems to me that, he would be the angry one.
Right.
And she has no business throwing high heels anywhere. So, yeah, I mean, her secret is bigger than his secret, I feel. I feel like him going and seeing a hooker on a Friday night is not as bad as being a hooker.
On a Friday night.
On a Friday night. Being a K-Road hooker.
Yeah. Well, look, you might be right. It would be quite... But wouldn't it just put you off, like, prostitution for the rest of your life?
I've never noticed a brothel on K-Road.
There's heaps.
A brothel?
Pretty sure.
I mean, like, you see girls standing on the corner, but I've never actually seen I've seen strip clubs, but I've never seen a brothel on K Road that I'm aware of.
Oh, well, I guess maybe there
I'll keep a better eye out.
Well, also, I'm pretty sure that some of those strip clubs have brothels at the top of them.
You're right.
But also, I guess, yes, this piece is probably completely bullshit. I just thought it was funny. But it is definitely written in the style of someone writing something for someone to click on.
Oh, yeah, it's all there. It's all about clicks.
Yeah.
And it's all about the ads.
Yes, I think it's probably false. But consider that if you're married, next time you go to see a prostitute.
Yeah. If your wife was a prostitute in the central city, you have to assume that at some point, someone that knows her and knows you is going to end up visiting her. It wouldn't be a secret for long, I don't think. If your wife of 12 years was a hooker, I think the secret would get out kind of quickly.
But before, I guess that is an assumption, though. Do you think that any of our friends go to see prostitutes?
Yeah.
You think they do?
Yeah, well, in this modern day and age, I don't know. I guess it depends. It's quite an expensive way to get laid, I guess.
Yeah.
But
especially with Tinder out there.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I don't really know. Yes?
See, I don't really think we know anyone that does.
Yeah.
There could be someone that we, obviously that hasn't revealed that to us.
Yeah.
But I think of all our friends, there's no one going to see prostitutes.
I think all of our friends would go and see prostitutes if they could afford them.
Well, maybe. But I don't know. Again, it's, it's quite a lot different seeing a prostitute, so I'm told.
So I hear.
Than meeting someone mutually who wants to have sex with you.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let us know, listeners. What are your experiences with prostitutes? We will...
Jeremy, have you been to see a prostitute?
No, we swear we will be anonymous. If you send us a question on the Facebook page, facebook.com/GuyAndHarley, we will anonymously answer or sort of, discuss your topic or, bring you up in the next podcast. So tell us your prostitute experiences. And I swear to God, there'll be no names. We're not interested in getting you in trouble. Last night, I went on an adventure. there was there's a band in the UK that's been around since the 70s. They're called Killing Joke, and they're sort of a punk band, an alternative punk kind of, rock, reasonably heavy band. Now, I hadn't listened to their music until recently, but the lead singer lives in New Zealand. His name is Jaz Coleman. Jaz Coleman. And I saw that on Sunday night. Our bad, the podcast is a day late. On Sunday night, he was doing this performance. It was called Over to the Dark Side, something like that. But anyway, it was a spoken word poetry event in the city, right? And it was $35 per ticket, which is quite a lot for any sort of poetry event. But I thought, well, I kind of want to go to this thing. I saw it a couple of weeks ago. I thought I'll justify it by calling it research, because I'm interested to see what
I'll justify it by calling it insanity.
I was interested to see though what he would be doing. He's a singer-songwriter who's been, writing songs and performing on a stage for 30, 40 years or something. And so I was interested just to see, what he would do and what he would sort of do poetry about. And I assume that his poetry wouldn't be kind of, airy-fairy and arty-farty. It would be sort of something kind of hard-hitting.
We wouldn't be talking about plastic.
Hey, plastic is hard-hitting. That's not airy-fairy or arty-farty.
I wouldn't be talking about galaxies and stars.
Well, he might be. I've actually written a new one. I'm in the process of writing a new one about space and about the future of humanity conquering space through Blade and Plague and Bullet. Anyway, so I went along to this event expecting to see some poetry, and I paid my $35 and I got in and I sat down, and this motherfucker came out and he sat down at a desk on the stage, and he had a projector, and it was like a PowerPoint show, and so that's okay. I could handle that. Yeah. But he starts talking about the New World Order and the future of humanity and how.
Well, what do you mean the New World Order?
Well, I'll get to that. I guess so. He comes.
Are we talking about the wrestling, the now defunct wrestling promotion with Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash?
No, that's not what he was discussing. And he's not discussing the Rat Posse either.
The NWA.
No. And so anyway, he comes out and he's like, he starts talking about, the Rothschild, the rich, them Rothschild. Don't know. So there's like various, very high, powerful millionaire, billionaire, multi-billionaire families, and so anyway, he starts talking about these powers that be, the 1% and all that type of stuff. But it's not poetry. He's just talking. It's not poetry at all. He's just sitting there talking, and he's sort of flicking through these PowerPoint presentations about these facts about these kind of, villains in the world. And then I was kind of on board. I was kind of like, okay, cool, this is interesting. There is power games being played by powerful people that can't be denied.
Sure.
There is such a thing as the 1%. This is just statistics. This is just maths. 1% of the population has to be richer than the other ones. It does. There is a top 1% of rich people, and they do get rich by being cunning, ruthless bastards. So they are kind of evil by default.
Sure.
You don't reach that sort of prominence without being a bit cutthroat. So, that's not conspiracy or anything like that. But then he just went completely off the deep end, right? Yep. He was like, chemtrails.
Oh, no.
Chemtrails, the concept of the government spraying chemicals all over us. That's why when you see vapor trails from planes, that's not a vapor trail. It's a chemical that's being dropped on civilization. So
how old is this guy? Like 60?
50 something.
Right.
I think he said it was 52 maybe.
Right.
Must be older. And anyway, he, so he's talking about that, right? Which is kind of a well-known conspiracy theory as being kind of bullshit.
Yeah, well-known debunked conspiracy theory.
And then he went on to vaccines.
Oh shit!
Okay,
so now we're really getting into.
Now we're getting kind of serious.
Now we're actually really ignoring science.
Yeah, I know.
Science,
because and so he's anti. It turns out he's anti-GMO. Anti-fluoride.
That's predictable, the GMO thing, right?
Anti-fluoride in the water and anti-vaccines, right? He also believes there are chemtrails in the air, and he also, at one point, he sort of said, and then 9/11 happened, you know what happened with that? You know, as implying to me that he believes that 9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah.
You know, so we're talking complete crackpot here. Now, this cost me $35 to get in there to support,
listen to this
essentially support this dribble.
This nutter's ravings.
And
was it a good turnout?
Yeah, it was. It was quite full. But no. But here's the thing. They didn't know. I think the audience was equally as shocked as I was.
Right.
You know? The audience was kind of expecting some poetry from a well-known musician.
Yeah.
Or a well-established musician. And instead they got this weird PowerPoint rant about conspiracies.
Yeah.
But it was, admittedly, it was interesting. I was interested in kind of a morbid sort of way.
And the insanity of the man.
Exactly. And I tried to open my mind. I said, okay. Let's just sit here and just see what I can absorb and just see if I can, maybe my mind is closed, you know? Maybe I've got a really closed mind and I hear anti-vaccine and I just assume that this person's a fucking nut job. But maybe I shouldn't. So I'll sit here and I'll bear it, you know?
Yeah.
And I sat there and it just got worse and worse. And then he started playing YouTube videos with zero citations, you know? Just a YouTube video. One of them was of a FEMA camp. You know, FEMA is like FEMA, whatever that is. And I guess federal something. And it's like saying that there's, you know, X amount of FEMA camps in the USA, and he brought up, to illustrate this point, he brought up a slide of a map of the USA with all these little flags on it, each one indicating where a FEMA camp supposedly was. Now, these FEMA camps are supposed to be where, like concentration camps, where they're going to send people, you know, when the great culling comes, kind of thing. But there was, again, it was just a map with little dots on it. That's all it was. And it was like, in the pre-internet age, that might have worked, you know, to a live audience. You go, wow, that looks very official. But in this case, it was like, no, that's just, you could have made that. Anyone could have made that. Yeah. It's just a map, you know, like, where's this information coming from? You know, and then he played a video of some people that were inside one of these FEMA camps, and it was just an old industrial site that they were walking around with a camera, and they were like, and you can see here that it's been renovated recently, you know, clear indication. You know, and then they go, and then while we were there, a black helicopter flew overhead, observing us. It was just a black helicopter flying overhead. Yeah. If I bought a helicopter, I'd probably buy a black one.
And you'd probably fly it over the heads of, you know, the general populace, because that's how you
get
fly
from
helicopters.
A to B.
Yeah.
So, look, basically, it reached the point where I was kind of like, okay, this guy is actually just... He doesn't vote, and he said that too. He doesn't vote. And it was like, okay, this clown is just undermining everything we've achieved. Like, it's one thing to say, oh, you know, the government's out to get you, okay? That's one thing. But it's another thing to say vaccines are bad, don't vaccinate your kids, okay? That's fucking stupid, you know? Like, that's going against, you know, basically 99.9 fucking % of all of the scientists in the world that understand this shit. Yeah. You know? And
like being a climate change denier.
Exactly. He probably is a fucking climate change denier. I don't know. And so yeah, anyway, like, basically it was all dribble and I paid to be there. But it was interesting. But Jaz Coleman, I know you're listening, so sort your shit out, mate. Like, you're actually harming humanity. And by not voting, you are holding back, kind of, you know, you should be voting against John Key.
Well, you should be voting against yourself doing poetry nights.
Well, yeah, that was misrepresentation, big time, because I was there for the poetry. Did anyone ask for their
money back?
Not that I'm aware of, but they might have. Oh, here's another thing too. I was sitting there, right, and I was like, okay, because at the end he kind of opened it up to questions from the audience, and I was very heartened to see that a lot of people in the audience actually asked very good questions. They were kind of like, so anyway... Like, one guy was like, I've got quite a good bullshit radar. And then Jaz Coleman cut him off.
Right.
You know? And then there was another one who, as well, he said, look, I want to believe all this stuff, but it's all a bit up in the air with zero grounding in reality.
Facts.
Yeah, it was like, is there anything that can kind of like tie this, you know, dates and times and you know, anything that can kind of tie this into something tangible, you know?
Yeah.
And basically the answer was, he was like, oh, look, I'm not, he goes, look, I'm not interested in all that. All I'm looking for is, I'm looking at trends, overall trends of what's happening. Well, the trends you're looking at are bullshit made up by fucking nut jobs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, I was on my heart. Okay, I was like, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to say something. Right? Yeah. So I was like, because what I wanted to say was, g'day Jaz, my name's Harley Neville. Let's start with what we can agree on. There is a 1% they do not have our best interests at heart. They want to make more money. They want to expand their influence. And we can all agree on that.
And maintain their wealth, as opposed to distribute it down, trickle it down.
There is some Game of Thrones-esque shit going on.
Sure.
By the powers that be. So, we can all agree on that. But, you are undermining all of our good work by denouncing vaccines and fluoride and all the rest of it. And I wanted to say that. And so I was sitting there, my heart was thumping. I was like, okay, I'd push my seat out.
This is it, Nevs.
I was like, this is it, Nevs. I'd pushed my seat out, all right? My heart was thumping. I was like, this is it, Nevs. Your big moment. Get up there and say what everybody's thinking, right? And so, and I was like, boom, 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 boom. And then I started standing, and then this chick goes, hey, blah, 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 some bullshit. And then she started talking, and then he goes, okay, cool, all right, thank you. I'm going to wrap it up there. And that was the end of it. So I missed my opportunity to stand up, and it was my own fault. Like, I should have just been braver earlier, basically.
You couldn't put him in his place.
Yeah, so that was that.
That was your adventure?
Well, that was the... Well, there was a man...
I thought you were going to say, like, you went off and you, went and you got, like, kidnapped by some people and you did some crazy drugs with them and then you escaped and then you came back here. With no one the wiser, but you just listened to a crazy guy do poetry.
Well,
not even poetry.
A modern adventure.
It was contemporary adventure. It was a contemporary adventure for the modern day millennial.
Jaded millennial. That'll be the name of this podcast. The contemporary adventure for the jaded millennial.
I like it. I like it.
Now, there was also, while I was there at this thing, there was a man with dreadlocks sitting like right next to me. Basically, I went by myself, right? So and it kind of had, the seating had to be, they needed to fill the whole place up. So they were directing you where to sit. And as you walked in, they were like, okay, so how many people are you with? And if you're with 4 people, you got a table to yourself. And if you were just by yourself, they seated you with the other losers.
Which, by some coincidence, you happened to be. So, because for some reason you couldn't convince anyone else to come with you to this thing.
I didn't try.
But you didn't try because you knew it was going to be met with derision.
Well, I knew that nobody would pay $35 to come and see a fucking poet with me. I need more friends, damn it. But so there was this guy with dreadlocks, right? Now, we're not talking dreadlocks. We're talking dreadlocks down to, like, he was... And they were on the ground. They were on the ground.
That's silly.
They were down, like, honestly, like knees, around his knees. And he was old and he had a big beard and everything. Yeah. Now, I was sitting next to him, and if you have dreadlocks, dear listener, go and chop them off immediately and wash your hair. Because they're disgusting. They're horrendous. They, don't try and tell me, I clean them regularly. No, you don't, because they're held together by your filth. That's it. That's what makes it a dreadlock. And, you can give them a wash, but you don't want to wash them too thoroughly because you'll make them all kind of go fuzzy and frothy, come apart, right? So, they're not clean. They're not. Don't give me that shit. They're not fucking clean. Now, this guy was sitting next to me, and he was right beside me, and he kept on flicking because these bloody things were so annoying and impractical. He kept flicking them out of his face and stuff like that, and kept on slapping them against my leg. His disgusting, filthy dreadlocks were slapping against my leg, and it was distracting from the show.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you have a little bit of dreadlock envy? Not because you want to have dreadlocks, but because you don't have hair.
Because you're bald, Harley.
No, and because when you see someone so disrespectfully use a lovely luscious head of hair, so disrespect it with such stupidity, which completely defeats the point of having hair, does that make you more angry than if you had hair and you saw that?
No. I get hair envy. I'll admit it. There are times that I get hair envy, okay? That happens. But when I look at a dreadlocked person, that is not the time, and I don't get angry that they're wasting it.
They're wasting their potential hair.
No, I was anti-dreadlocks before I went bald.
Yeah.
As a teenager, I thought dreadlocks were disgusting. And that's when you think they're cool, is when you're a teenager.
For sure.
So yeah. Cut your hair.
Well, that's our episode for this week. A little bit shorter. We apologise, but
yeah, I've got other topics and everything.
We'll just have to tuck those away.
I've got a meeting in 10 minutes with a colour grader who has contacted us from the interwebs. I may or may not return. He may or may not be a crazy lunatic, but I'm going to go and meet with him for a networking beer and hopefully get him to work for free on all our shit.
Yeah, that's what we need. People working for free on our things. Hey, look, we're not hypocritical. As soon as we start making money, we'll start distributing. We're not going to be the 1% here. Whenever we have money, we trickle it down the line.
I trickle my money down to you.
Yeah, and we do try and pay for things as best we can when it comes to filmmaking. But it's just that normally, we don't have any money, we don't have any budget. So, we ask no more of others than what we ask of ourselves.
What was your point?
The point is that, we always talk about people working for us for free.
Right.
But one day...
I thought your point was going to be, so, listeners, please give us your money by going to Patreon and searching Pigville. If you go to patreon.com and search Pigville, you can find us there and you can donate $1 per video we put out to a maximum of 3 videos a month or something like that. We're talking chump change here, but it all adds up if enough people do it. So if you would like to support us financially, there's 2 things you can do. 1, go to the Patreon page and donate to us. 2, go to YouTube and just watch our videos, share our videos, search Pigville on YouTube, and we get paid for our views. Not very much, but the more views we get, the more pay we get. So,
3, share our stuff to people that will then do those things.
Yes, exactly. Maybe you can't afford to give us $3 a month, but maybe one of your mates can. So
I was just in a car crash the other day. Which means that I'm going to have to pay an excess for this thing. And I'm really broke. I'm just laying the framework of where I'm at in my life is where a $500 excess fee can throw me into financial devastation and ruin, which I may not recover from. So, just be aware of that.
All right, well, look, we are going to wrap it up, but just for the record, I've got a whole bunch of good topics we didn't even get to touch on this week. We spent too much time on Max fucking Key.
No, we spent too much time on the fucking bumming scenario.
Oh, that was gold. That was all gold. But so anyway, make sure you tune in next week because, got plenty of good stuff coming.
All right. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.